the statement by Michel Therrien that Max Pacioretty is the worst captain in Canadiens history got me thinking, is it true? Could it be? So let's take a look over the captains in the history of the Montreal Canadiens. Keep in mind, Max Pacioretty was voted captain by the players on the team. So whether I like or dislike Max Pacioretty really doesn't matter. If the players in the locker room like Max Pacioretty and said, hey, he's our captain, then he's their captain. First captain, Jack Laviolette. No idea who that is. He only lasted a year. Newsy Lalonde lasted a year. Went back to Laviolette. Went back to Lalonde. Jimmy Gardner, 13-14 and 14-15. Howard McNamara, 1915-16. Went back to Newsy Lalonde from 16-17 to 21-22. Sprague Cleghorn had it from 1922 to 24-25. Bill Coutu had it in 25-26. Silvio Mantha had it from 1926 till 1932. George Hainsworth had it in 32-33. Silvio Mantha had it back from 33-34 to 35-36. Babe Siebert had it from 36-37 to 38-39. Walt Buswell had it in 39-40. So basically, Michel Therrien, in his incredible genius, if this statement is true, and given his track record for making odd statements, I don't see any reason why it wouldn't be. I remember when he was in Pittsburgh and he makes statements and they go, wait, what? So I can't see any reason why this wouldn't necessarily be true, but it does raise an interesting point. Is Max Pacioretty the worst captain in the team's history? And I don't know that Walt Buswell was a fantastic captain. He was captain for a year. Toe Blake was captain from 40-41 to 46-47. Toe Blake and Bill Durnan shared it in 47-48. Butch Bouchard had it from 48-49 to 55-56. Maurice Richard had it from 56-57 to 59-60. And you would think Maurice Richard would have had it longer than that. Doug Harvey had it in 60-61. Jean Beliveau had it from 61-62 to 70-71. Henri Richard had it from 71-72 to 74-75. Yvon Cournoyer had him 75-76 to 77-78. He and interim coach or interim captain Serge Savard had it in 78-79. I think of Serge Savard as a coach when I came in. Anyways, Serge Savard was in coach on his own from 79-70 or 79-80, 80-81. Bob Gainey had it from 81-82 to 88-89. Guy Carbonneau and Chris Chelios had it in 89-90. Guy Carbonneau had it on his own from 90-91 to 93-94. Kirk Muller and Mike Keane had it in 94-95. Mike Keane and Pierre Turgeon had it in 95-96. Pierre Turgeon and Vincent Donfus had it in 96-97. Vinny Donfus had it from 97-98, 98-99. Saku Koivu from 1999-2000 to 2008-2009. They had no captain in 09-10. Which is gutsy. I think saying Pacioretty's worse than not having a captain is something, because it shows here's in their captain's history. Brian Giunta from 2010, 2011 until 2013, 14. And I'm going to say right now, I have a Giunta jersey. I like Giunta. I would not say Max Pacioretty is below Mike Giunta in captain territory. And the team had no captain in 14-15, and then just named Max Pacioretty captain this past season. I think what happened with Montreal last year was simply a matter of Carey Price got hurt, and they didn't have the goaltending to do what needed to be done in terms of the way they played their games. I don't think Max Pacioretty is the worst worst captain the Canadiens have had, nor do I think he's the worst captain in the NHL. Again, I'm not a Max Pacioretty fan in general, but he scores goals. He doesn't shy away from media interviews. He plays rookies. Oh, wait. No. I'm thinking of Therrien not playing rookies, and that Pacioretty probably would if he was the coach. It's just the one thing that I think is odd is this seems like a very specific statement. So I can't see why somebody would make up Therrien saying this. It's a very specific statement. But it's also very easy for a person like myself to look up all the captains in the history of the Montreal Canadiens and say, Pacioretty's not the worst. He's no Guy Carbonneau. Nobody's Guy Carbonneau anymore. I would honestly say that he's a good captain, and I don't think that the Canadiens would be better off with anybody else as captain. The statement is made, well, Carey Price would be captain if a goalie can be captain. Yes, I'm sure that's true, and Vancouver shows just how well things go when you name a goalie the captain. So by all means, if you guys want to go ahead and do that again, follow Michel Therrien's advice, and he can be reached at the Canadian Unemployment Office in about 2 months if they do that. A goalie as captain doesn't work. There are a lot of things done in game that having a captain who's a forward or a defenseman, they have an easier time doing than a goaltender. A goaltender will always have leadership on your team, especially if he's a very good goaltender, he's a veteran goaltender. There will always be a leadership aspect to what he does, but it's not captain material. Even if they're the ones standing up in the dressing room and saying, "Come on, guys, rah rah rah," whatever they got to say. Your captain should be a forward or a defenseman. Again, Luongo. If Luongo couldn't do it, and it wasn't Roberto's fault. Roberto is a fantastic guy, great leader, great personality, able to handle tremendous pressure and just shrug it off. But in terms of players that I look at and say, well, who's captain, who's not, I never look at a goalie and go, he should be the captain. I've never looked at the Rangers and gone, Lundqvist should be the captain. And he's been their leader. So the statement that, well, Price is our best, well, yeah, Price is your best player, and I'm sure he's your emotional leader. But on the ice, you need a guy who's a forward or a defenseman as captain. That's just how it works. The game, the way it's played now, it's most beneficial to have it done that way. So, this has put me in the unfortunate position of feeling bad for Max Pacioretty. And as a Bruins fan, as a fan of this team here, I feel kind of icky saying it. This is twice this summer that I've been in a position where I kind of have to feel some sympathy for Max Pacioretty. The other being the Stanchion hit, which was a long time ago, but, it was one of the Bruins that did it. So, and this is at the start of a tournament, and Pacioretty played it well, where he said, "If I'm the worst captain in Canadiens history, that's still pretty good company." Fantastic, great way to answer it. He shouldn't have to answer that. They should be over asking Kessler how it feels to be the worst person in hockey history, and why he snaps his head back. And if he feels like if his diving game advances any further, does he feel like he has a shot at the next Summer Olympics? Because I don't see why not. That's really what should be asked. I think if you're going to look for a guy in the game who's, I'll even turn it this way. If you're going to look at guys in the game who don't really deserve the standing they have, and there are players like that, and I'm not saying Kessler. I don't like Kessler, but he does deserve. He's a second line center. He's a good producer. He's a warrior in big games. But if you're going to look for a guy who maybe doesn't deserve the standing that they have, and maybe they're overrated, I don't put Pacioretty in that category. He can score you 30. He can score you 25. He can hit the 60-point mark. He is, by Montreal standards, probably pound for pound. Galchenyuk's their best forward, but Pacioretty would be right there with him. And, Pacioretty is capable of having a fantastic season. So, no, I don't agree with the statement that Pacioretty is the worst captain. And if Michel Therrien did make that statement, it is damning on him in that you've come through a bad season. Don't be talking shit about your players. Just don't. It doesn't serve a purpose at all. Pacioretty is still going to be on this team when the regular season starts. Michel Therrien, for some insane reason, is still the coach when the regular season starts. I don't know what kind of dirty pictures he has of who in the Montreal organization or who in Molson he's paid off, but he is still a coach. So, again, I haven't heard an actual audio clip where Michel Therrien says this about Max Pacioretty, but it fits. It fits his MO. It is how he does things. He says things without thinking first. At least I hope this would be something said without thinking first, because you can't slam the captain of your team. You can't, especially when your players named him captain. That means most of the people in that locker room believe he is their leader, and you're saying, no, he's a piece of crap. All right, guys, everybody, circle up. I know for myself, if I wanted Max as my captain and I hear my coach talking whatever about him, I'm going to be kind of defensive about that. It's going to be, hey, I sort of had a vote in this. The guys here, we all had a vote in this. What are you saying about us? If you're saying that we picked a guy to be our leader that sucks, what are you saying about us? You saying that we don't have um, the skill to pick a captain amongst us? Why didn't you pick one then? If you know so much, who do you think should be captain amongst us? We're all ears, Michelle. And that's how I would feel personally. So it's one of those things that while I'm not a Montreal fan, I will never cheer for Montreal. I can't. It's to do with this team here. It's a rule. You know, you sign into there's like a Boston Bruins fans union, and when you sign it, one of the top 10 things is you will never cheer for the Montreal Canadiens. I got an addendum saying, look, I really hate Carolina. Can I cheer for them against California? Can I cheer for them against the Kings, the Ducks, and the Sharks? And the union agreed. I just have to pay an extra $20 a year in membership fees, and then we're good. I also have to worship. There's an altar to Cam Neely down the hall that I have to worship once a day, and I have to send that video footage to Boston, and they check to make sure I'm not repeating the same video footage from days early. It's a long, arduous process. The point is this: Pacioretty is not the worst captain they've ever had. Think of the list there. In order to state that he's the worst captain they've ever had, you would have to have seen all those players play for the last 100 years. Nobody has. It is a sensationalistic statement, which leads me to believe two things. Either he said it, or he said something close to it, and somebody made it into what it is right now. But no, he is not the worst captain. And he could have a very good World Cup. And it's funny because when I look at some of the players who are more outspoken and more controversial, a lot of the times they do end up being American, but I don't know why that is. I don't know if there's something inherently on that side of things. I'm not getting into it. Maybe Canadians, maybe we are just really kind of, oh, we're just going to be nice and back down. The problem with that is the coach in this scenario is Canadian. And he's kind of being a douche. Alrighty. So that's it from me on this one. I will be back again later today and discussing any other news items that I see around that I find are interesting, different, or getting into unsung heroes and players who maybe other fans don't talk about that I personally cheer for and root for. The guys who might get a PTO rather than a big contract on July 1st. The guys who nobody really talks about. And yeah, so I have that yet to come today. Anyways, thanks for watching, and I will talk to you all again soon.